Alive.
All right, and then I always get all this noise up at the top of my screen there, and it hides all the things. So anyway, hi, Capt Ron here. Welcome to tonight's Fearless Fight Live. We're gonna just banter very little bit, and then we're gonna open it like we knew what we were doing and show you the formal beginning and with the slides and stuff. So it looks a little bit more polished when you get to the replay. So anyway, so let me crank up the slides here, and then we'll formally begin. And here we go. I'm gonna share. With any luck, you guys can see my
We are in luck.
There we go. Yeah.
Right. Welcome, everybody. Fearless Flight Live. I'm Capt Ron. And we come to you every Tuesday night, 6:30 Eastern or Pacific and 9:30 Eastern time. And we have some other smiling faces here, our regular panelist here. And we'll start with Diane, recently retired from a long career as a flight attendant, back to being a navigator at the Phoenix Airport, where you've been how many years, Diane?
20.
20 years as a navigator. That's a program at the Phoenix Airport. And I don't think all the other airports have anything like that. Phoenix,
Not many. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so she helps out with her wisdom, guiding people through the airport who get lost. I saw Phoenix was number 2 in overall satisfaction.
Yes,
exactly. So that was cool.
Really
and then up there, just well above her on my screen, is Eric Larson. Eric is another captain like me. Well, he's nothing like me. He was a real professional. And we met though, oh my gosh, 30, 40 years ago. I don't know how long it was. When he got tagged to fly with me in the cockpit of a Boeing 737. And we've known each other ever since. And like Diane, both of them were hooked when they got their feet wet working with some of you all who have anxiety over flying. And they've been helping me ever since. And then, of course, got Dieter Staudinger, who hails from Austria originally, and but has been living as a Canuck for the last 20 some years, I think.
Yeah, almost. It's crazy.
Yeah. And Dieter is a licensed therapist himself. We met online, not in a dating site, but professionally. And so don't want you to get the wrong idea.
Don't ask, don't tell.
If there's anything wrong with that, as they used to say on Seinfeld. But anyway, so Dieter helps us out a lot with both psychological stuff and with the technical end of it. So, and without him, I wouldn't have near the reach that I do or be able to talk to all of you. So anyway, welcome everybody. We'll switch right over. Well, this is the place to be, by the way, if you have a fear of flying or you know somebody who has a fear of flying, or you just like to hear us give our opinion on the airline industry, because we do that as well. We got a little bit of that coming later in the evening. This is our Fearless Flight Birds of a Feather private Facebook group. And we're up over, I don't know, maybe we're pushing 2,000 now. Things been growing constantly. And we have a lot of people who join this. It's free. I hope that's not me. So anyway, this is our Birds of a Feather group. It's free. It's private on Facebook, and it's a place where you can come and dip your feet in the water and get used to the fact that there's a lot more people alongside of you out there that have a fear of flying. Tonight, we're going to we have a special guest. Somebody, one of my VIP students that I just flew with last week. It was the reason that I wasn't here on the show last week. We're going to pitch the December live monthly group coaching webinar. It's really going to be exceptional this month. We've got a couple of little newsworthy items in the aviation news. And as always, put questions and comments on your Facebook there. The folks here help me, Dieter and company help me monitor that, and we'll either get to them on the air or we'll get to them afterwards. So with that, I'm going to move into the next slide. This is our special guest coming up, and let's just take a look at this little video here. Okay, come on in, Dominic. And I noticed, Dominic, that he spelled your name, your last name. You were now Romero instead of Romano. So
My whole life I've been a Romero.
we
Seems like it.
we
I get
we
that
changed
confused all
your
the time.
culture there, right? So anyway,
That's
you
okay.
were a Sicilian, if I remember right, in one of our conversations.
That is true. I am.
Yeah. And you're gonna have no credibility. I'm gonna have no credibility. Nobody's gonna believe you were ever afraid to fly with the smile on your face and all that joy in the little bit of video there. So anyway, and I really want to thank you for joining us tonight. And can you start by sharing a little bit about your relationship with flying before we met? What was going on?
Well, if you go to my not being able to fly, that was over 30 years ago. I'm actually, and I'm afraid to say, embarrassed to say, I was an aerospace engineer.
You built these things.
Yeah, I helped design some parts, and
Yeah.
I have a degree in mechanical engineering. The plane never really made me uneasy. It was just just anxiety of being, I want to say helpless, but no control, no
Yeah.
reference. That
Yep.
was it. But and I had to fly for work, and I flew. I've actually been to Hawaii, but again, it's going way back. My last flight, I was with my wife. We went to Reno, and it was a white knuckler for me the whole way.
And so you're another one of these folks, like so many of them that I've run into, which this is one of the big surprises for me over the 37 years. So you fly without any issues at all, and then all of a sudden you can't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then it built, and to the point
Yeah.
where I just could not fly. It was just too much.
Yeah. And that seems to be the pattern is that people who flew fearlessly, then they started to notice something on, it could be as brief as on a single flight, and then they start obsessing over it. And you get in all this other, it's like a black hole, kind of.
Yeah,
It just
exactly.
sucks all these other fears into it there. So anyway, and then I wanted to bring this out because you for whatever reason, you're a face that I look to when we do the coaching things every month. When I see Dominic, I know all is well in me because you got such a radiant smile. But I just have an affinity for you. And you were, what did we meet, 2-3 years ago, something like that?
I think it's been at least 2 years. Yes.
Yeah. And then you were getting all ready to fly, and you were going to fly with us in Burbank. And then what happened?
I got sicker than it was probably good for me to fly. I didn't want to take any chances of having an issue while we were up. I already was trying to get over flying, so to add a medical problem, they were just a little. I was just concerned. I didn't want to do that. My mind wasn't focused enough on the fighting the anxiety as much as with a medical problem.
Yeah.
So
And I don't know how much detail you want to go to. I'm totally in awe. You remind me why I like to think of myself as having attitude of gratitude, because holy cow. I had a gallbladder. That's the only thing ever formal reason I ever had anything done medically. And with your issues and stuff, my hat's off to you. You got such a great attitude, and like I said, you just radiate positive energy, and that was a fun part for me.
I just had to learn to deal with it. You have to deal with it. You have to focus and deal with it.
And so what was it why now? Even before the health challenges, what happened that you said, okay, it's time for me?
Well, first I'm trying to get a heart transplant.
Okay.
And it kind of put everything back in perspective of how much time I got left on Earth, to be honest with you.
Right.
And I've kind of wasted time trying to get over this anxiety. And I wanted to visit my daughter in Austin. I live in LA, Orange County. And I just had to do it. I just said, I have to do this. I know I'm in my mind, I'm going to get another chance to fly again. I know it, but I had to do it. And I just used all the focus that I used to overcome my fear of the medical stuff, and focused on being on that flight. And you talked me down. You got me through. I wasn't even uneasy most of the time. I felt good. It was weird. I'm wondering if it's been so long since I flew that I just forgot what the anxiety was.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you all at the very end here, you said, "Hey, can I be a VIP?" You didn't say VIP, I said VIP, but you've always been a VIP for me. But you said, "Hey, will you fly with me?" And what was that all about? Why now? Why did you want me to fly with you?
Because I knew you could get me there. I just
Oh,
knew.
that was bigger than I thought. I thought you were going to say something about wanting to visit your daughter. She's going to feel left out of
Oh,
the.
oh no, because I wanted to see my daughter. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we trade off holidays. Like she'll come out. She's got two kids, and it's pretty expensive to fly four people.
sure.
So she wanted, she kind of was feeling a little lonely at Thanksgiving there, and always with her in-laws. And my wife misses her grandkids, and I felt again that feeling of holding everybody back. So I didn't want to do that. I want,
Yeah, yeah. And that was great. I hope we'll hear a little bit about you surprised her too, right? She had no idea you were coming.
well, my son. Oh yeah, my daughter had no clue. Oh,
Yeah.
she was did one of those like, am I in the wrong place? Like, is this a dream? I'm not sure. It was weird. We were sitting in her living room when she walked in the house after walking her dog, and it's like, wow, where do they
Oh,
come
that's
from?
cool. That's cool. And like you said, it was the health challenges that really spurred you into doing this. And a side story here, I've been working with a fella back in the Midwest, and he's been do same thing. He's been toying with this for like 3 4 years. We've been talking, and he's tried to get there, and he just can't do it. And he just wrote me today that he has a friend, a very good friend, who just found out he has liver cancer and he has less than 8 weeks to live. And so he commented
Mm,
the same thing. He just realized that life's about that. So all of us can learn from you and vicariously through this other fella, his friend, that it is a one-time deal, and you don't want to get stuck on the ground if you want to get up in the air. So anyway, so my heart goes out to you. In the Phoenix to Austin flight, what did you do? I talked your ear off, and I felt guilty flying with you because you didn't need me there. But what was it like for you? What was going on?
well, I forgot what it was like to first. I loved the plane taking off.
Yeah,
I love takeoff and the thrust, the feeling. I love the plane.
yeah,
That was never my issue. But being with you, I didn't. I have flown a little bit. Remember, I think I told you a short flight from LAX to San Diego, which was like 20
uh-huh.
minutes, and I used your tools, which helped me tremendously. A visualizer, a harmonizer,
Harmonizer, right?
yep,
That's the audio program that we
right.
have. Yeah,
But being with you on the plane, I didn't need those. I
yeah.
mean, I had the live version.
Yeah, right. I'm not sure that was the best thing, but I'll go with that. So anyway, was there when you came to come into the airport, drive it, and you drove over, by the way, for those of you out there, he drove from LA to Phoenix to make it more convenient for me, which was incredible. And when you got there, leading up to the flight, was there a point at which you started to feel some relaxation coming in? Was it you kind of you said you forgot about what flying was really like? Was there a time when you started to say, "Oh, okay, I can do this. I can kind of remember where it was."
Oh yeah, definitely. There was, yeah. When we took off and we were at altitude, that's normally when I was thinking it was going to start bothering me, and it didn't. And I
And for
think
you, I had a guest on a couple weeks ago, Stephanie, and she said the same thing. She had a bad experience, I think 9 years ago or 7 years ago on a flight, and it happened when they leveled off. So for her, kind of similar. Takeoff and stuff, not so much. But as soon as she gets to level off, she starts to think, or that's where the anxiety builds up. And for you, it was similar, it sounds.
yes, oh yeah, I just didn't focus on it. I focused on talking with you and enjoying the flight and like thinking where I'm going to go and I'm going to get there and I'm going to do this. And I mean, I'd like to say that I was really, you know, confident, but I was a little reluctant, but I could push through it.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and I just it didn't, after a while, it didn't bother me at all. That's why I
yeah.
did fly back. I was okay.
Yeah, and because I just, like I said, I joke about people just doing it for the attention. I think I commented to Lori, your wife, I said, he's just looking for love. That's all it is, but you did a great job. And you mentioned going back. So I was kind of, at least initially, we thought, okay, I'll kind of hang loose in case you need to be coming back, but you didn't. So,
No.
typical, I get rejected and that's so this is for me just to talk to you again because I figure you won't need me anymore. But what was it like coming back from Austin back here?
Um, we got there early, a couple hours early. We had to drop off the car, and honestly, it was just focused on. Well, I've got no choice. I'm going.
Okay.
I mean, I just
Did
convinced
you
my
notice?
mind.
Did you notice a little bit of anxiety leading up to that?
Very, very
Not so
little.
much. Not so much. Okay.
I just
Okay.
pushed through. I just pushed through.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
almost like I consider it like playing with pain. I'm going to do this,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what's the worst that could happen? I'm
Yeah.
going to do it.
Yeah, and that's that's the hardest thing for people. I tell people, literally, if you can if you get on the airplane, just don't get off. It'll be as miserable as you can imagine sometimes, but if you just hang in there, you'll get results, and that's the whole thing. So you really didn't need much support. Were you able to carry yourself just like you did on the way down, talking to Lori and things like that, or were you focused on in anything?
Well, funny. So Lori and I both decided after we met you that we didn't have that much to talk about, her and I, because we talk about everything. So I just put a movie on my iPad and
Cool.
watched the movie.
That's good. That's good. That's another one of the techniques that I highly recommend is to distract yourself, because if you can keep your mind on something else, then you're not a fearful flyer, right? Because
Exactly.
it's the story that's going on up there. And we touched on it a little bit, but what was your daughter was totally surprised and
Oh yeah.
it sounds like everything that you'd hoped for happened.
Yes. We had a great Thanksgiving.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had another question down here I want to get. So when you look back over the time that you didn't fly and in culminating to tonight, you have any thoughts or insights that, about the whole experience?
I would like to tell everyone out there, don't wait for some tragic reason to go.
Yeah.
You got to push, because I feel stupid that I didn't push harder 20 years ago or 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Of course, I will tell you the class though, that first taking the class was my first step to getting back.
Yeah.
And granted, I went 2 years in your class, but I needed to do those steps to get to where I could at least think about flying, because I had put it completely out of my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I stuck to it. And like I said, you helped me a lot to do that.
I am too. And so finally, you became one of my VIPs there, and I'm not fishing for compliments or anything, but what does it add with me being there? I tell people I'm just a big fat placebo because I can't do anything. And although I do silently hope that the pilots will be incapacitated, then I'll take you up there with me and we'll be heroes like Sully will land. But that's never happened so far.
That'd be really cool.
That would be really cool.
You have your life was, I like hearing about your life and what you did, and those things help. But in between us talking about your life and my life, you did throw in things that were helpful to me to keep that confidence and also focus on not thinking where I am and what I'm doing. I'm on a vehicle, I'm in the air, and we're going to a destination, and I'm going to get there.
Okay.
And
that, to me, that's the essence of mindfulness. To me, is just noticing where you're at, what you're thinking about right now. It doesn't matter if it's a fearful thought. The act of realizing that you're in the moment and you got all the air, water, and food you need. So you're not going to die from that. And the only place like to tell people that fear happens is in the future. And that's what's so debilitating. That's why everybody complains about anticipatory anxiety. I don't know what other kind of fear there is. It's all anticipatory, right? It's all because there's nothing going on right now unless I had an arrow in my head or something like that. But even that, if I'm consciously aware and alive, even though there's an arrow in me, I know, okay, I got something going for me anyway. but appreciate it. And the big thing that I ask people, what advice would you give to anybody out there that's coming from where you are? First of all, they're all going to say, well, he wasn't really as afraid as I was.
Oh, I was deathly afraid. I mean, I can tell you, I couldn't even think that if I was going to take a flight, I didn't. I just couldn't do it. And
Yeah.
I mean, I was very badly afraid. But I guess the advice is take small steps. And I told you about that small little flight I took, which got me back to where I could feel comfortable in an airplane.
Yeah.
That was a good thing for me. And then finally doing that flight, wasn't a long flight, which was good. That helped me because I knew I could focus for that a period of time. I'm ready to go again. I want to fly. I want to go back on a plane.
Oh, cool. And any one thing you'd say to somebody that you can think of, Dominic, who's sitting out there saying, I don't know.
You just got to look past it. You've got to dig deep and look past it and think what you're missing. Like you said, if you look at what you could be doing versus what you're giving up, that should be enough. I mean, again, for me, I waited for to get real sick and think I needed to do this now. But had I just pushed it maybe 25 years ago, I'd be flying and going to all great places that I never got to go.
Well, and just my own personal experience of meeting you, I just can't tell you how moved I am by your attitude. And I'm not just talking about the heart transplant, and you didn't mention the liver cancer, which is in the mix right there. And I just hope people can really admire just what kind of a guy you are. But even before that, you always had such an uplifting attitude, and I got 2 hours of Dominic on the way down there.
Oh God.
Basketball player. You're always looking. You work for a big company, working on C-17s, and then but you always like making a difference, and so you migrated to smaller companies, and you uphold my theory, and that is you're too damn smart for your own good, because that's the problem with being over analytical, right? You just can't put those what ifs out of your mind. And I got a real sense of just how competent you are as a mechanical engineer. So it made me feel better in retrospect, knowing that people like you were designing the parts for those airplanes. So anyway, well, I really want to thank you for coming on, giving up your time here, and all that. And any last things that you want to say?
I'm not going to stop the classes. I'm going to keep doing them, and looking forward to my next flight. And I want to stretch it as much, I think doing more flights, getting more confident, and I want to go farther. My goal, to be honest with you, is I've always wanted to go to Washington, D.C.
Oh, cool.
Always. And that's my goal. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, it's an inspirational city to me. I love just seeing the buildings is breathtaking, and I love the museums and stuff there. So anyway, well, I'd love to have you hang on with us. You can comment off the video there if you want. I'm gonna talk to people about a little bit about the webinar, monthly webinar coming up on the 19th of this month. So I'd love to have your comments if you want, Dominic, just about what your experience is like. So let me go back and share my screen here and make sure that I can see where I am. I got to work my magic here. Okay. So, this is the theme this month, from victim to victor, and that's what I see so much in people. Any of you know me, you know that I have this little byline that says, "Life isn't about what happens to you; it's about the story you tell yourself about what happens to you." And Dominic, you're living proof of that. I mean, oh my God, the challenges that you've got health-wise coming up. I would have thought like I was flying with somebody who had the world by the butt when I was flying with you. It was just a joy to fly with you. So we're going to work more on helping people change the story of their life. And here's some of the things that we cover month to month, and specifically in this month, we're going to talk about the root causes of anxiety, and always every class, every monthly coaching webinar that I do, I try to dedicate some of the time to actually offering some techniques and giving people a chance to practice them in the class. tools that help people reframe, and that's a thing that I use a lot. Taking whatever your trigger is and reframing it with knowledge and experience as to why your belief or your understanding about that isn't relevant to airplanes. I mean, you're a great person. You know what airplane, you know how well designed airplanes are and stuff like that. And it points out to how much control is a factor for a lot of people who are afraid to fly there. And we'll try to give you actionable strategies, things you can actually do and do on the airplane. And the other thing is to connect with other people out there, because if you don't realize it, you're not alone out there. And you've been to, I mean, gosh, a couple of years you've been doing this, Dominic.
yeah.
Except, yeah.
Yep.
And what's your experience in the class when the people there and what we do?
I found comfort that there was other people that are sharing this problem. You feel kind of alone when you can't fly or you have that anxiety or you're scared of it, but having other people know they understand you have what the problem is, and they feel you can feel it as a group. We can do something. We can conquer this, and seeing other people and their experiences and what bothers them, that really helped a lot. Hearing it from different, like having different opinions. It's great.
Yeah, I think people feel validated when they hear other people having the same. And there's a lot of commonality. There's a lot of people have similar triggers, but everybody has a little bit of their own uniqueness in the way that it affects them and all that. So I've gone to this the first session and an encore presentation, because we got all of our friends on the East Coast. They get stuck with the late hours of the night all the time. So we plan for the first session. Will be on the third Thursday of each month. And in this month, it's going to be December 19th. We start at 6:30 Pacific, so that it's only 9:30 on the East. And if you can't make it, or if, because of the time, or you just can't make it no matter where you live, I've now gone to a secondary, an encore presentation on the Saturday that follows. So I'll do the same thing again on Saturday, December 21st, and that starts at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope that you can do it live. I think there is an advantage of doing it live. And our goal is to give you this opportunity to keep progressively moving forward. And as I mentioned before, I want to give you actionable tools that you can use to reclaim your freedom and get your confidence back up, which is essentially what I think that dominate there. And these are some of the things that we'll talk about. Understand why flight anxiety happens and how you manage it. We do take a deep dive into this. I want you to learn techniques to actually calm your mind and body before and during flights. Discover tools. Go ahead.
The breathing helps a lot.
Yeah.
Breathing techniques.
Okay. And is that something that you can do now? You do that routinely?
I use it for other things too.
Okay. I mean, because you got more than your fair share of experience with the medical community.
Right.
Okay. Climbing into MRIs and doing all kinds of tests stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, actionable strategies and connecting with other people out there. The class is not just about information, it's about transformation. And Dominic provides real proof of that. So again, first session is going to be on Thursday, December 19th from 6:30 to 9:30 or 6:30. And we go for about an hour and a half. And then we'll have an encore on Saturday, December 21st. And we hope that you consider flying with us. Okay, moving into another little kind of a quirky thing here. One of the things that the airlines are doing is they are raking in billions from seat assignment fees. The only ones that aren't doing that basically now is Southwest. And if you've been paying any attention to the news, Southwest has been challenged. Actually, a group of investors forced them into a quasi hostile takeover, because they're leaving all this money, if you will, on the table by not charging for exit row seats and things like that. You got any thoughts about that, Dominic, or any experience about that?
Having a assigned seat, I think, makes you a little more uncomfortable, to be honest.
Yeah.
I like the freedom of being able to, I want to sit there. And, even if there's a lot of people on the plane, you still have a little bit of freedom out looking for your seat, that place. So, I like the Southwest, if they could stay that way, but I understand the money part of it too.
Yeah, they were initially they felt forced into this. They were gonna go in like February and start doing assigned seats. Now they've moved it back some bit of time, and it's more political in the sense that it's trying to appease this investor group that's out there. And the reason I brought this up is because then you get the variations of that. And Diane's going to have a comment here in a minute. I have no idea what she's going to say, so we'll all be hearing it for the first time. But there was and this is just another side. 12 billion comes from seat fees. $12 billion every year are from these premium seats. And so it's no small deal, and they're probably not ever going to go back on it. It's one of the changes on there. So here's a story about there was a mother that melted down. This is a woman who paid extra for one of these premium economy seats, and she was traveling with her 9-year-old son, who was all the way at the back in seat 32B. So she tried to picture this. She's sitting in a premium seat to get 2 more inches of knee room there. And the fella next to her, she said, "Excuse me, would you mind switching with my son who's in 32B?" And it's a center seat of all things. We, as Diane and Eric will talk about, we used to call it the dreaded middle seat. That's the worst seat in any row. And so she could have gotten up and gone back, and switched with somebody back there and say, "Hey, you want a premium seat up there?" But she didn't. So I read a little bit on Reddit, which is one of those places, and they have a feature on there that says, "Was I the a-hole or was the other person?" Yeah. So I got probably too much into this, but anyway, but there's a connection between this, because when you got premium seats on there and you're paying for that, but this is about attitude and stuff. I don't think that lady would have had much comfort there. So what are your thoughts, Diane, on this whole thing?
Well, oh my dear, you probably don't really want to know exactly what my thoughts are.
Okay, give us the G version, the G-rated version, okay?
G-rated version. Well, this happens more than you would imagine.
Yeah.
Some individuals do this as a practice. They intentionally book that way with the assumption that someone would give up their seat and allow them to switch. I can't answer for all airlines or all other flight attendants, but when there is a problem, we always want the passengers to call the flight attendant, because we don't want passengers to get into a brouhaha amongst themselves with regard to the seat business. I have had more, particularly after I'd been flying for several years, when I was a little bit more bold on my plane. I flew for SkyWest. We had assigned seats. All of our aircraft, all of our partners had assigned seats. And when they started switching around, I would go. And if it was a family group and someone wanted to sit, in kind of the same row but a different seat.
Yeah.
But when they started playing musical chairs, I would go back and I'd say, "Hey, what's going on?" And if one individual moved and I noticed them later that moving, I'd go up to them and very sweetly and say, "Is this your original seat?" "No, it's not." And I said, "Well, in order to do that, you have to talk to me first. And you didn't, so you don't get to move." Nicely, I always say it nicely, particularly if their exit row is empty, if their seat in the exit row, that's a premium seat.
Yeah.
And for us, in my airline, we as flight attendants are not allowed to let anyone move into an exit row. That's more money. And those individuals would say, "Well, there's no one sitting there." When I go, "Well, yeah, that's true." And the analogy is, if you go to a car dealership and you want to buy a used car, you don't go off the lot with a Mercedes, a brand new Mercedes, because it just happens to be there.
It's looked at like first class too, right? I mean, you wouldn't be allowed to go up there just because it's empty. So
just because it's empty. It doesn't work like that. And no, we can have an entire exit row with no passengers there. There's no FAA regulation that says we have to have someone there. So that's one thing. And for the most part, I never had anyone give me too much trouble when I explained to them that is a premium seat. It costs more money. We don't take we're not allowed to charge anybody on. And if I did move someone and there was, as we refer to them, a secret shopper, I could get in trouble. I could get in trouble for moving someone to a premium seat, no matter what it was, without, because that sends the wrong message to everybody else on the plane. And so we just don't do that. When it comes to those kinds of situations that the woman melted down, you know, as you said, Ron, we'd be more than happy to move her back to 32A so she could sit with her son. And that's, I mean, we have a lot of discretion when it comes to those kinds of things. But when it comes to the money part, just what you're talking about with the premium seat money, we don't do that. And it's unfair. It's unfair, and it just we don't let that happen. No.
And it's the time we live in when the airlines started squeezing and when deregulation went into effect, which was the first year of my airline career. We did not have all this hassle. You know, everybody could sit anywhere unless first class.
But I got to, as I said, when I had been flying for several years, and I got a little bit more bold, when people started getting up and kind of trying to switch around, and I stand there with my hands on my hips in the middle of the aisle, and I'd look at her, I said, "What do you think you're doing?" I said, "This isn't Southwest. You get to sit where you're supposed to sit." And then if it was families and they were trying to work it around and we were trying to get everybody boarded, I'd say, "Okay, this is not musical chairs. And if it is, I'm going to start singing. When I stop, everybody had better be in a seat." And no one wants that. And at that point, everybody laughed and sat down. So, I mean, all flight attendants have a way to deal with that kind of stuff. And that was my way.
So your 5'2" stature was a little bit larger than that.
5 feet even, 5 feet even. But there's nothing worse. Dominic will appreciate this. There's nothing worse than a short Irish Italian woman from New York. Telling people where to sit. Yeah, anyway.
All right. So we'll open it up to Dieter, see if we got any questions, comments, particularly for you, Dominic. I have there's going to be a lot of kudos in the comments.
Yeah, there were a lot of hearts and thumbs up there, Dominic, as you shared your story. And the one that I want to highlight, because I want to turn it into a question to you, is so you mentioned a couple of times you were pushing through it. So was that because there were triggers coming up for you, or at that point did you already know that this is going to happen and you knew how to relate to the triggers and what was coming up at the situation? So
let me add this. Was there any, here's a big theme with people. Could you anticipate it, and could you get ahead of it? Because people get overwhelmed, you know, and so everybody wants to know. That's why people wait forever, because they're waiting for zero anxiety, and that it's not going to happen. So go ahead.
I think so. Over the years of, especially the medical issues I've had, I've gotten very sensitive to when I can't be overwhelmed. And I've gotten good at it. And I never thought of that being able to apply to when flying. And I did. And I think, did I ever feel like, I mean, again, it might have been just a twinge, but nothing. And with me, it's probably like other people, if you let it go, then the elephant throws the rider, or whatever.
Right.
You want to say.
Yep. And the dog's bark didn't turn out to be as big as what you had thought it would be.
No, because the logical part of my mind won. It told me you're not in any danger.
Yeah.
So just relax.
And that's it. And it's I have a version now called distance self-talk, where you actually put yourself in those things in third person. But that is the key. You've got to teach yourself to respond differently. And it is how everybody gets through this. And the thing I try to do when I'm coaching people is help them find times in their life where they have done this, because everybody's done it. Everybody has had some fear or anxiety that they thought about in advance, and they've managed to push through it. It's just that, bless flying's heart. It's just so unique, and there's a mystique about flying, right? And until you've had the opportunity to deal with those sights, sounds, and sensations, sometimes it's really hard to change that attitude in your mind. But anyway, but you're a really great example, as are most of the people. But again, it's just a total joy from flying with you. I'm gonna do one quick additional pitch for this. So we really want you to consider signing up and joining us. And I love Dominic's attitude. Another way, he's going to stay with us for a while, and he'll know when it's time to quit. But you need that connection, not to me, but to the other people out there. You need to know that you're out there, and the best way to get over it is to talk to somebody else about how you got over it. I've had a number of people that tell me when they got to where they could fly and they were worried about it, they'd run into people, because it's not that hard to find people on a flight that are anxious like you are, and just tell them everything you know, and it gets your mind off it. We teach what we need to learn. And I tell people I was never afraid to fly in the way that the people I talk to with, but I got my own crap that I carry around, and it's helpful to learn how to deal with that. So anyway, well, anything else, Dieter?
No, that covers it.
Okay. Eric, we couldn't get in a word edgewise with you tonight. Any words
wasn't worried at all. It was
out there?
Totally worth it to listen to Dominic's story. And Diane did a great job on the seat thing, keeping it G-rated. And it essentially made my whole show listen to Dominic call you the human harmonizer. And thank God I had my mic muted, or it would have ruined it.
Eric's least favorite part of tool that we have is the harmonizer. One night we had it playing in the background when we were talking. We couldn't figure out how to turn the player off, and I thought Eric was going to have to leave the facility there for a minute. But anyway, well, but one thing I'll say for you, Eric, you've been told when you first came to one of these classes with me, it moved you, didn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, you see the people wrestling with it, and the success rate of getting them over the fence really makes you feel like you're doing something worthwhile for someone who really needs it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It works. It works. And Dominic is, again, timely evidence and experience that it does work. So again, Dominic, thanks. I wish you, on behalf of myself and everybody out there, the best that you could possibly hope for in your medical challenges. And I'm looking forward to staying connected to you, and I'm looking forward to your smiling face and attitude on Thursday, December 19th. Okay? So thanks for...
If I can say one thing, the chemistry between you guys is excellent. Yeah. That's the other thing. I like when you guys talk and you're talking about what's going on, and there is a comfort, at least when I'm there listening, I can feel the confidence coming from you and how you're able to answer all these questions and the fears and things, because I don't know, it's very comfortable. You guys got a great job.
Thanks,
yeah. And we seriously honor the pilot's tenet. We never let the truth get in the way of a good story. So we don't intend to change that at all. So anyway, with that, I'm going to thank you again, Dominic. Thanks, Diane. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Dieter. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. We love it when you do, and keep coming back, because it does work. All right. So have a great weekend. We got a couple more classes or shows before Christmas. But if we don't hear from you for whatever reason, I hope you have a great, happy holiday season. So thanks, everybody, and have a good night. Bye-bye.